Another year, another 1080, but this time it's a little bit different. We're dropping the Fresh Foam X. Today we're reviewing the New Balance 1080 V15. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. If it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may know some timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of this video, but if you do so, I'd sure appreciate if you come back, watch the full thing when you get a sec, because I put a lot of time and effort into these videos. Now, quick disclaimers and disclosures, I did receive this shoe from New Balance for the purpose of review. That being said, I'm not being paid, I'm not giving talk tracks, talking points, I'm not actually obligated to make any specific content, no one watches the videos beforehand, and all thoughts are entirely my own. Now, as far as intended use of the shoe, this is the 1080, right? So this is going to be New Balance's, or one of New Balance's daily trainers. It's probably, I would imagine, the most popular in recent years. And it is a shoe that works, you know, as a daily trainer for those daily miles, but also because of just the stack and whatnot, which we'll discuss here in a second, I feel like it's also a really viable recovery day or easy day shoe. As such, that's how we're going to be talking about it today. Now, from a price standpoint, we are looking at $170, and that is $5 up from last year, and I believe $10 up from 2 years ago, if my memory serves me right. Shoeflation, this is a 2026 release, so I think this is a preview of what we're going to be seeing. I'll be at TRE in December, and so I imagine that that is going to be a big topic of most shoes are probably going up $5 to $10 year over year, just to kind of keep up with the supply chain demands and tariffs and different things that might be going on. So stay tuned for that. I will obviously update you guys on what I hear, but as far as this shoe, again, $170, and this shoe does release actually, I believe, in February of 2026. Now, as far as the specs go, the shoe comes in at 9.2 ounces, which is 261 grams. So it is getting lighter this year. And then it has a stack of 40 in the heel, 34 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. So a little bit more stack as well this year, right? From a fit perspective, what we're looking at is it's true to size. I would say it fits true to size lengthwise. And if you are familiar with New Balance tends to be wide foot friendly. I do believe that that is the case with this shoe as well after having used it. And I will say that I do think that this fits a little bit wider than last year and than most New Balances. So this one is actively wide in my opinion, wide toe box, wide midfoot, and wide heel. So keep that in mind. Now, moving to the upper, this is one of the major changes for this year. It is a molded, breathable upper. So you can see there, you kind of have those molded panels, and then there is, you know, a pretty breathable overall mesh. In previous years, the 1080 has been a very, very warm shoe, and I feel like this year, you know, they still kept a lot of the plush cushion elements, so you still have a nice cushion tongue, which is fully gusseted, by the way, which I very much appreciate. You have a nice cushioned heel as well, and it's not overwhelming cushion, right? So we're not in that max cushion shoe territory where like you have the super fat tongue. I think this is a nice balanced tongue, so you do get some warmth there in the heel and in the tongue. But this molded mesh is going to be just a little bit more breathable than previous years and reduce a little bit of the heat that we've kind of become used to, right? Which, again, in my opinion, I think it's a good thing because you still get comfort, but you get a little bit more breathability. Not the most breathable on the market, but still gets the job done. Now, from a lockdown perspective, with this shoe being a little bit wider, I do feel like I struggled with it a little bit because this molded upper is also not quite as flexible as kind of the knits in previous models, right? The more I run in it, I have about 31 or 32 miles in the shoe, I think. But the more I run in it, the better it starts to form to my foot. But just right off the bat, I found myself having to mess with the laces to get my lockdown just right. You know, because of that, I didn't really notice it on easy runs, but when I wanted to do like strides and kind of pick up the pace, that's where I did feel it kind of break down a little, or start to slip around a little bit in the shoe. And that's when I would have wanted to cinch it down a little bit more. You know, you could do a runner's knot, but it's not really a heel slippage issue. It's more shifting in that midfoot area, given the extra space that you have. Past that though, the upper is very, very comfortable. It does get the job done, and you know, the heel itself, the heel cup is very comfortable, and I had great heel lockdown. So now the big talk about this shoe is the Infineon foam, which, if I understand correctly, is a super critical TPU. So that, you know, the name change, no longer Fresh Foam X, now it's just the 1080 V15, and you know, so they've moved away from Fresh Foam, and the Infineon foam is supposed to be significantly more responsive than Fresh Foam X. I think people hear responsive and they automatically assume speed work. That's not the case, right? There are a lot of somewhat responsive shoes out there on the market that just are not necessarily geared towards speed. Some examples like the Saucony Triumph, they use Power Run PB, that's a PIBA-based foam. Even the Nike Vomero Plus, same thing. You have Zoom X, I believe it's a TPE, but instead of PIBA, but still fairly responsive and bouncy. The Neo Zen, which is a supercritical EVA, I believe, or a nitrogen-infused EVA. So all of those are more responsive, but they still are kind of standard daily trainer-esque, right? They're not shoes that you're going to be lacing up to do speed work in. I think a big part of it comes down to the geometry of the shoe. Like, this is not a geometry that is meant to be very, very aggressive. It's one that's supposed to just kind of roll through and be very comfortable. And that's kind of what we're seeing with this Infineon, right? Is it faster than Fresh Foam X? Sure. But Fresh Foam X, again, was not a foam geared towards speed work, and neither is at least this setup of Infineon. Instead, what I find is it tends to rebound off the ground a little bit more in a way that Fresh Foam X I felt like was very, very squishy, and I felt like it compressed and squished down a ton. So for the most part, I feel like this is going to be, you know, really a good option for those who struggled with the softness of the Fresh Foam X, which I was one of those people, by the way, where it was just a little bit too soft. And as I went a little bit longer in the shoe, or if I used it a lot over a condensed period of time, I actually would get like arch pain and different things because it just was too soft for me. So I feel like this is a better balance overall. But if you did like Fresh Foam X and it worked for you, you may be a little bit annoyed. Now, speaking of some of those other shoes, like this does remind me a little bit of like the Saucony Triumph, most notably the Saucony Triumph like 21 and 22. More so towards the 21 where I felt like it was max cushion but didn't feel max cushion. Like you got some good bounce in the shoe, and so that's what you're getting here. I think it's just going to be a little bit more versatile than Fresh Foam X was. Not that you're going to be doing speed work, but doing strides in this I think is going to be like a little bit more comfortable. But that it's still very soft. Like I don't know how much you can see, like it squishes significantly, quite like there's a lot of give. It just doesn't take as long to rebound into its form from there. So anyway, moving to the outsole, we have, I think it's just a durable rubber outsole, and it's a little bit less coverage and a little bit less hard than the previous models, right? So this is a point where I do wonder about durability of this outsole. I mean, I just can see, through 30 or so miles, I can already see a little bit of wearing there in kind of the forefoot area, but overall I think it's nice. I think this is where they're saving some of the weight on the shoe as well, because the previous models had pretty like aggressive coverage on the bottom, and I feel like these are, it's going to be a little bit better. It still has solid grip. Like I'm not worried about the grip at all, but I'm more worried, if anything, about the exposed areas and just more the durability of the outsole. But it does get the job done for a daily trainer. Standard overall grip, nothing super, super special, but again, checks the box. So who's the shoe for? Those who like, you know, a slightly more responsive feeling daily trainer, something like a little bit more lively foam, this is going to work well for you, right? It's not a shoe that, I think maybe if you're someone who tends to speed up though, like, and you want a shoe that kind of works as a max cushion recovery day shoe, but you don't love traditional max cushion, right? So someone like me, where like the Gel Nimbus doesn't quite do it for me, right? Shoes like the Bondi, again, are a little bit more, are a little overkill for what I need. I think that this is a really good option where I could take it on a trip and it could cover a lot of like my easy days and my recovery days, just kind of standard bulk mile days. And then I could pair it well with, you know, a more speed oriented shoe for a rotation and whatnot. But this is going to be, in my opinion, a little bit better of an option. If you want a shoe that you can wear to work, obviously I would assume, I've worn this one to work, but I would assume most people don't want like a highlighter color shoe on their casual outfits. But this is, because the foam is a little bit, it's not firm, but it doesn't squish down quite as much, I would be a little bit more comfortable wearing this around while traveling and whatnot, where Fresh Foam X, again, too soft for me when traveling. The 880, a little bit firmer version of Fresh Foam X, that worked really well for me, but the 1080s were just too soft, too squishy for walking around or standing on my feet all day, in my opinion. So anyway, just some final thoughts. New Balance shaking it up. This will be interesting. I don't know if we'll see Infineon in the More and in the 880 of 2026. So I'm really, really curious what application we're going to be getting here. You know, I'm curious, are they going away from EVA-based foams entirely? So are we going to see a revamp in the Rebel? You know, are we going to see... I mean, are we going to see an SC Trainer V4, right? Like, are they redoing all of their foams? Is Infineon just the first one to be announced? Like, I don't really know what's to come from New Balance in 2026, to be honest. So I'm really excited to see what we're going to be getting and just kind of see how they pivot, as so many running shoe brands right now are pivoting their foams, and it's really become a battle of the foams lately. So if you watched this far, I sure appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about the 1080 V15. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video. Now, if you'd like to support the channel, please consider using any of the affiliate links in the description below. I have links to Fuel Goods, where you can get any of your running fuel. They have most major brands on their website, and if you use RadDad at checkout, you actually get 10% off, right? So if you're going to buy the fuel anyway, please consider supporting the channel by using that code. And then also Wallaco, if you're in the need of any running tights. My favorite running half tights are the Wallaco Distance half tights. I will likely be running my marathon in them. I wear them for almost every speed workout. And if you use RadDad20 at checkout, you get 20% off as well. So appreciate the support. Appreciate you watching this far. Just to wrap us up, I'll leave us with the question, which is, how do you feel about the changes to the 1080? Do you feel like they're an upgrade, or have they left you kind of frustrated? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.